Captain Jane Miller had been expecting trouble when the diplomatic mission was announced. The Krell had a reputation for hostility that stretched back to humanity's first contact with them 30 years ago. What she hadn't expected was to find herself doubled over in the corridor of their orbital fortress, a burning sensation spreading through her chest from the ceremonial drink they had offered. The pain hit her like a sledgehammer. She pressed her back against the cold metal wall, sliding down until she reached the floor. Her vision blurred, but her military training kept her mind sharp enough to understand what had happened. Poison, she whispered to herself. The bitter aftertaste in her mouth confirmed it. Communications with her ship had been cut the moment. The Krell commander had lifted his chalice in a fake toast to interspecies cooperation. Jane was alone, trapped aboard an alien fortress with at least 50 hostile warriors, and she had approximately 2 hours before the poison finished its work. 2 hours was more than enough. Jane forced herself to her feet, ignoring the fire in her veins. The Krell had made 3 critical mistakes. First, they had poisoned her instead of simply shooting her. Second, they had used a slow-acting toxin rather than something that would kill instantly. And third, most importantly, they had underestimated humans. The Krell believed humans were soft, peaceful creatures who relied on technology rather than physical prowess. They had no concept of human military training, especially the kind that special forces operators like Jane underwent. Their arrogance would be their downfall. Jane ducked into a maintenance shaft when she heard the heavy footsteps of Krell guards approaching. Their scaled bodies made a distinctive sound against the metal floors. She waited until they passed, then moved deeper into the fortress. Her implanted neural interface was working overtime to maintain her body functions, despite the spreading toxin, giving her a steady countdown in the corner of her vision. 1:53:42 remaining. The first order of business was weapons. The Krell had taken her sidearm during the security screening, but Jane knew how to improvise. In a maintenance room, she found tools that could serve as makeshift weapons. A length of metal piping became a baton. A sharp-edged repair tool became a knife. Her next target was the fortress's environmental controls. Jane had studied Krell biology during mission prep, and she knew their reptilian physiology had one significant weakness: temperature regulation. She found the environmental control room with surprising ease. The Krell hadn't bothered to lock most internal doors. They never expected an enemy to get this far into their sanctuary. The pain was getting worse, spreading to her extremities. Jane's hands trembled as she overrode the system and dropped the temperature in all sectors except her current location. The countdown showed 1:32:19 remaining. As alarms began to sound, Jane moved to her next objective: communications. The Krell would be slowed by the rapidly dropping temperatures, giving her time to work. She needed to warn her ship about the treachery and possibly call for extraction if she could survive long enough. The poison was affecting her coordination now. Jane stumbled twice on her way to the communications center, her body fighting against her will with every step. When she arrived, she found 2 Krell operators already showing signs of distress from the cold. They didn't even notice her until she was upon them. The fight was brief and decisive. Even poisoned and weakening, Jane's combat training gave her an edge over the confused and chilled Krell. With the communication center secured, she established a quantum link with her ship, the USS Intrepid. Captain Miller to Intrepid. The diplomatic mission has failed. I've been poisoned. Fortress security compromised, preparing for extraction. Her first officer's voice came through. Shocked, but professional. Copy that, Captain. Extraction team preparing. ETA 50 minutes. Too long. The countdown now read 1:17:54. Jane's next move was to the Central Command Center. As she made her way through the increasingly chilly corridors, she encountered more disoriented Krell. Most were too slow to react, their cold-blooded metabolism failing them as the temperature continued to drop. Those who did attempt to stop her found themselves outmatched despite her deteriorating condition. The poison was working faster now. Jane's vision blurred occasionally, and she could feel her heart racing dangerously. Still, she pressed on. The command center doors were sealed, but Jane had obtained an access key from one of the subdued Krell officers. Inside, she found the fortress commander and his senior staff, huddled and bewildered by the rapid turn of events. The Krell commander hissed in shock when Jane entered. Impossible. The toxin should have incapacitated you within minutes. Jane managed a pained smile. Human physiology, full of surprises. She secured the command staff with restraints found at security stations and took control of the fortress's defensive systems. By the time her extraction team arrived, Jane had disabled the fortress's weapons, held the entire command structure hostage, and downloaded valuable intelligence from their central database. The countdown showed 0:22:37 when Lieutenant Tom Wilson led the extraction team into the command center. His eyes widened at the scene. 6 subdued Krell officers, systems displaying human control codes, and his captain, pale and sweating, but still standing. "Medical team, now," he ordered, rushing to Jane's side. As the medics administered the universal antitoxin, Jane briefed her second-in-command. "The fortress is secure. Temperature controls compromised. 53 Krell incapacitated. No casualties on either side." Wilson shook his head in disbelief. "You captured an entire Krell fortress while poisoned, Captain?" Jane closed her eyes as the antitoxin began to counteract the poison. "They gave me 2 hours. It was more than enough time." 3 days later, in Earth's orbital headquarters, Admiral Davis reviewed the after-action report with a mixture of awe and concern. "The Krell High Command has requested formal peace negotiations," he informed Jane, who was still recovering in the medical bay. "It seems your actions made quite an impression. They believe all humans must be capable of similar feats." Jane smiled, weakly. "Let them keep thinking that." The Admiral nodded. "The intelligence you gathered has given us unprecedented insight into Krell military operations, and capturing a fortress single-handedly while poisoned. It's already becoming legendary among the ranks." Jane looked out at the stars through the medical bay window. "They should have just shot me," she said simply. Some lessons, it seemed, the universe learned the hard way. Never underestimate humanity, and if you must fight them, don't give them time to fight back. Even when poisoned, a determined human was the most dangerous creature in the galaxy.